Hello, and today I wanted to do a video on the primordial tone of love. And more importantly, I think it extrapolates and extends into why we spend so much time searching for love on this plane in our three-dimensional form. And so the I want to prerequisite this with kind of a personal story that it took me a while to understand, or it took me a long time to formalize inside my mind, but at the same time it shines perfect light into the existential search for love that we have built in within ourselves, and and all the definitions of what love is and what love isn't, right? And so it is kind of the opposite, or the flip-flop concept of the previous video that I recorded on love, of a love isn't, and so maybe this is more so of what love is, right? And so the personal narrative that I wanted to describe is, I for some reason came into this world with direct awareness and direct memory of the primordial tone of love that we exist in without our three-dimensional self, right? So the best way I could describe that is if you take the three-dimensional filter off of your being, and then possibly even other dimensional filters off of your being. So I don't know how many dimensions in we need to go. At the core, right, at the core of your existence, you are able to feel and experience the whole, right, as one in the primordial tone of love. And that is a difficult concept to verbalize, me having sitting here in the three-dimensional space. But at the same time, this was the conundrum that I have struggled with my entire life, of what is that I'm feeling and why it does not correlate or translate into this space, right? And so through many turmoils and many years of pondering and possibly suffering that I have put myself through, I was finally able to discern what is it I'm feeling and what is it I'm comparing it to, right? And so, but I say this and I want to record this because I don't think I'm the only one who spent 40 years being confused. And so if you are one of those people, but in essence, all of us, right? All of us come from the primordial tone of love. So I do want to emphasize that. All of us are able to feel it, to remember it, to know it, and actually recognize it at our core, right? And so we have these glimpses of this recognition, and we have this glimpses of oneness and these glimpses of pure joyous love, right? So if you have those glimpses, that is your reminder, that is your delayed look of self, where you're able to touch on your core, right? On your true existence, right? Having removed three-dimensional limitations of self, right? So if you ever experience that, then you know what I'm talking about. And so, or if you, like me, who basically experienced that memory and knew that from the core of your birth, right? So I'm assuming there's other people out there like that. If you are, hit me up on the comments, I guess. So you would be able to feel that core coming into this world, which all children do, right? And then at some point, not remove that from your filter, right? So somehow the three-dimensional existence did not filter that out. It did not hinder the existence of this memory, and kept it alive, right? And so I've realized that is what I've been experiencing my whole life, right? I have live memory of the core of my being, that is the true essence of love, that everybody has, right? Not just my being, but all beings. We are true essences of love within our core, right? And so having memory of that then through the extension of my life, caused me to build a set of expectations, I guess it would be the best way to put it, of what love is, right? So at the core, if I know what love is, right, that open-hearted energy that I'm hoping you have felt at some point or still feel today, then I distinguish that from the rest, and in fact classify that as the core of love, right? The core of existence. And then in my naive childlike state, because I did not realize that this is a memory from somewhere else, I did not realize that this is the concept of my primordial tone that does not necessarily exist in the normal three-dimensional space. I then proceeded to walk my life, 40 years of it, assuming that this is the standard for everyone. And then this is the love that we're able to feel towards one another, right? This is the love that we were able to experience towards a fellow human. This is the love that you would communicate as a status quo, whether you're lovers in the intimate type of a sense, or whether you're, just a passerby in the street. This is the love that you would feel for all living and non-living things, and this is what 3D is all about, right? And so it is a very lovely concept to walk in and to live in, and it is magical in every way. So I would wish this upon everyone, to have this memory be alive at all times, but then also to at least feel it every so often, right? But then through my three-dimensional standpoint, right, which I do still exist in this form, I've always come short on the expectations of what I would receive back, and that is the part that I find kind of humorous. That concept was alive. I took it as the truth, and both of those, things are correct. It is alive and it is the truth. But I extrapolated that concept onto three-dimensional world, right? And kind of lived it and walked it all my life, but then would always pause, and the life would then come short of, why am I, what is the disconnect, right? And so this is why I think I wanted to make this video, is because for those who are living in that light, it gets difficult until you recognize what the disconnect is, right? So you're always putting yourself out. You're always pouring your heart into everyone and everything, and then receiving something other, right? And then inevitably feelings get hurt. In my case, I got really confused of why, what is happening here, right? And so through my process of enlightenment, I guess, however enlightened I happen to be in this moment, I've realized I'm referencing, right, a filter that is not the status quo of three-dimensional space, right? Or I'm sorry, the filters that are the status quo of three-dimensional space are clouding the truth of our existence. And so I I hope this is helpful, and I hope those of you who are like me can understand this, and then know where you stand, right? I know a lot of people out there are already in understanding of this, and they walk their life with a very cognitive thought of what things are and what things aren't, and then they're able to be whole within themselves through this understanding. And I felt like the lack of this understanding almost caused me to have a piece of myself missing, right? Piece of myself missing, and hoping for something to exist that has no place to exist here until the right time. But all through my life, I assumed it to be the status quo. So I have verbalized this sense to some people, and they have referenced it back, that it's kind of like almost like a negative or a depressing realization, and I don't think it is in any way. And in fact, I think it's the most beautiful realization, because it offers wholeness to me as a human being. That now I can evaluate things from the true light of perspective, right? Not for them being bad, or not from them not having love, but from them having the three-dimensional love that this world exists in, right? And so I'm 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 recognizing that because of my memory, or because of this glitch in the matrix, or whatever you want to call it, of me living in the space where everything is pure love, I'm having a hard time connecting with this world, right? And it's hard to be in the world that you're having a hard time connecting with, because you don't understand where you fit in, right? And then having the recognition that I fit in somewhere where I remember the world of pure consciousness, right? And I can connect to it at all times, at any time, and then feel that exuberant existence, and then the pure joy. And I don't even have words in the three-dimensional space to describe how is it that I feel whenever I connect with this love. And then knowing that that is the path that all of us are on, right, is to find that recognition, and that is the path of our life in this three-dimensional space. And then I just happen to be, hopefully not the only one who lived their life with a memory of it, and then therefore confusion of it as the status quo for all 8 billion of us on this plane. And so hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully those of you who are feeling it here and there, and that are confused of, or wanting it back, right? You almost want that love back because you want that reciprocation, and recognition, because I almost felt like the oneness that I could experience within me could only exist in me receiving the same love back, right? So that, I think, that is an important part that I wanted to highlight here, is that I because I knew of this love, right, and because I recognized this as the ultimate process of creation, an ultimate process of conjoining, an ultimate process of what I would have then classified as being in love, right? Everything came short, right? My entire love has came short because it did not touch on that existence, from anything or anyone, right? But inside, I feel it, right? So if I'm putting that out, but I'm receiving something other, then there's a huge disconnect in expectations from three-dimensional space. And then I obviously walk around going, where do I even belong, right? What is this disconnect, right? So for the longest time, I didn't even realize what the disconnect was. Then there was a period of time where I realized, wait, I'm feeling this, but I don't seem to be receiving it, right? And then I was confused of why I wasn't receiving it. And then through some time post that, then I have realized, oh, how I am walking, the frequency in which I am comprehending love is completely outside of this three-dimensional understanding, right? So I'm not able to express this verbally to anyone unless they feel it. And so therefore, I'm walking alone, outside of, all 8 billion. I'm sure that's not the case, but at least my circle of friends, right, and my circle of relatives, you feel lonely, right, is because your pure consciousness of interaction with another being is never met, right, is never reciprocated back. And so hence the confusion. And so I wanted to emphasize that if you are putting love out, if you are putting these feelers out, and you feel the disconnect from everyone who you're communicating this with, you could be like me. You could be a being that, for some reason, through their childhood development, never had that filter go over their eyes, right? And so I remember at an early age judging, and I use the word judging, I made a different video on judging, but judging or evaluating things from that standpoint of like, hey, why am I not receiving what I feel inside, right? Where is the disconnect, right? And then inevitably, what happens is you don't feel loved, right? And it's not because you actually are not loved, is because that primordial frequency that you're feeling is not being met from any other standpoint, right? From anyone, really, anyone or anything, right? But when you center in at the core, right, and if you are into energy work, you would know what I'm talking about. You can center in into the primordial frequency of love, right, and experience that all-encompassing bliss, right? But then in order for you to feel it, you would have to have that connection with another being, right? But the only connection I felt with that is to the frequency of that existence, right? And I say primordial existence is the frequency that I'm feeling within me is the extension of that oneness with the whole, right? But unless you feel that from someone else, and then you're confused of where you stand, then you get very confused as a three-dimensional being. And so if you are confused, hopefully this shines some light of you might be feeling something, or you might be living in the world where that frequency is so pure and so abundant and so overwhelming, then you know you can't function in any other frequency other than this frequency of pure love, right? And I'm not saying things don't get in the way that cause you to feel down or cause you not to feel as loved today as you were some other day. So, you know, obviously that happens because you're still in a three-dimensional space. But at your core, you might be evaluating love against that filter, right? Against that frequency, against that primordial tone, you know, which is how I was evaluating it. So I hope it is helpful. You know, I'm just now grasping the concepts of what it means to have that have been my definition all my life, and then only now realize that that is the path that we are heading towards as a collective, but are possibly not there as a collective yet. But it is the path that we're heading towards in order to uncover that love within us, right? So right now, I think that recognition for everyone is happening more and more often, right? You're having those moments of pure blissful joy and oneness with everyone more often than ever before, is because that is the direction that we're heading, and which is, you know, so beautiful. Like my heart overflows knowing that that is the where we're going. But then you can kind of evaluate yourself or where you stand in that moment right now, where not everyone is there, not everyone understands where you're coming from, but at the same time, I hope you don't dim your own light, and I hope you don't dim your own expression of love from this core and from this memory, just because the world is not there yet. So I think you are here, for, you know, on a purpose of extrapolating that and feeding that frequency into this three-dimensional space. Ultimately, I think, you know, that is my purpose in life here too, which, you know, is beautiful. Confusing at first, but you know, once you start to grasp concepts about it, it is beautiful and everlasting and exuberant, I guess, how to say it. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this shines some light on those who are struggling to find love or to actually recognize maybe where they stand. And then those who have no clue what I'm talking about, then maybe this is just a glimpse of the direction that you're heading. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you later.